Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to the channel with Shotgun Shogun, and today we're going to be taking another look at an account. Today we're going to be taking a look at Affirmative's account. Now, one of the things that he is stuck on is that he feels like all he does is farm gear because he can't really think of anything else to do, which, I mean, is actually kind of most of the game, you know, but really, he says his gear is decent, but he's not very good at PvP, and he wants to kind of look into getting into RTA, what characters to improve on, maybe seeing if there's anything that we can do for his hunts, things along those lines. So let's take a look at what we're doing here, what we've got to work with RTA PvP wise, and we'll see what we can do for this account. So first off, let's take a look at what characters we have leveled. Let's take a look at what we don't have leveled. This is going to be the real big thing here. So right out the gate, you've got Arbiter Vildred. Arbiter Vildred is pretty much you got the 30 basket, pretty easy peasy. 200 speed's not bad. You could get a little bit higher on the speed just so that you make sure that you're getting up there in terms of, you know, when to go first, right? Plus 15 Violet. Now, some people are going to say, yo, dude, why did you put a point into the S2? That's actually detrimental. It's okay. I only have a +1 Violet, and mine's actually in the second one. So I actually really like Violet, right? I do think that you need if you're gonna run him, you do need to get a little bit more defense onto that, because even through the miss, right, you're still gonna get hit real hard if you have that low of a defensive stat. So even like on a MRSA or a Rylet for myself, I tend to run 1,000 to 1,100 or more defense, so that even if you're getting hit with misses, it's not really that big of a deal. You do have 13.5k hit points, but again, if you get RNG'd, you're going to get hit like an absolute truck in this layout. The 182 speed's not bad. Your attack and your critical hit damage, your critical hit damage is a little low. I would actually you could knock some of your attack back for the defense, and I think that you would be in a much better place. A bit more of a tankier Violet is going to allow him to live a lot longer. Liberia's Tooth on Sigrid is an interesting pick. She's very slow, lots of critical hit damage, lots of attack. Again, you run into the whole you're going to have a CR pusher with this. Now you're going to have to run in Oxlots or something along those lines. Personally, I don't like relying on that in RTA. Now in Arena, it's whatever, you can bring whatever you want, but in RTA, one of the big things is you can't always necessarily rely on CR pushers unless that's all you're going for, right? You're going for you know, an Oxlots, Flitica, something along those lines, to make sure you have multiple CR pushers. I think that Sigrid in RTA is a good RB counter. I think that you can build her a little on the faster side and just have enough damage that you're going to destroy just about any RB. You don't have to go too ham. There's not too many things in the game that are going to be able to live through a 301 C damage, 4,500 attack Sigrid. That's just kind of how that is. So a lot of the things that you kind of want to look at when it comes to RTA wise is that you can tone that damage down a little bit in favor of speed or tankiness, so that you have survivability. Speed is really big. I personally like running my my spez a little on the faster side, because again, you typically don't need to hit something for, you know, 50,000 damage in RTA, especially a spez. Now you might want that damage just because if you do hit the Dream Blade and you miss, well, it is what it is. Your Seaside Bell, you definitely need to get more hit points on. You can probably reduce some of that speed. You don't actually need speed set on her. One of the big things with Seaside Belle is you want to build her very slow, very tanky, and you also want to build her, since you're using Bloodstone, I would actually run her with, you know, more critical, a good balance of critical hit damage and attack that way, because if you're running Drink, you're going to stack just attack because you're going to scale off of the Drink attack. But I do think that with this amount of hit points and defense, you're still going to be a pretty easy target to burn down. So negating a little bit more damage for much more survivability is going to allow her to fire off many, many more S2s. So that's something to look at there. Next up is going to be Sirmia, and 180 speed's actually pretty crazy good for her. You could go a little bit faster. I don't necessarily like Border Coin, right? Because I think that what you can do, Border Coin's not the worst, but I think a Portrait would probably serve you better here because you want to just one-shot something, right? And I think that the damage versus attack that you would get from Portrait, especially right out the gate, would be a bit better. Now, you also have some defense and some health on here, which is nice because that allows for a really early pusher, a really early DPS to not just straight up one-shot you, right? I find it interesting that you use the 25% chance to grant an extra attack when playing with fire. That is her S1. Most people go with the other one that gives you the extra cooldown. So it's interesting there. Not too sure what you're going for there, but if you're going to be using her as, like I said, a one-shot queen, going with the cooldown one is a bit better because you can, especially at 180, right? You're going to be fast enough to greater attack, burn something, and also get get back to the front semi quick. Your Judge Kisei, I feel like at 162, you kind of want to go with the way your stats are right now is you're kind of in this weird mix of, am I a bruiser that doesn't need CR push, or am I a cleaver? Personally, I think there's like two Judge Kiseis that are like the best ones, and that's like full damage cleave Judge Kisei or very fast disruption Judge Kisei, the one that comes through, hits the S3, reduces everything. I've tried personally running a bruiser Judge Kisei before, and it just never really seemed to work out very well for me. I would suggest, potentially switching this to maybe cleave or speed. I feel like your gear that you have right here on this could go much better on some sort of other bruiser. You do have her at plus 10. There is some good investment there. I don't know how your overall cleave goes, but yeah, that would be my suggestion on that one. Unless you do run it with double CR pushers, right? You could run it with like a DJ Basar Flitica combo to go into her, into another one. That way you're not having to rely on like a CDOM push or anything along those lines. Your Baiken is very, very slow. So I assume that you push her forward and then hope for R and L procs on that. Your attack is good. Your crit obviously is good. You're going to be able to S2, S3 pretty much most things that aren't like a Fallen Cecilia or Dark Corvus. So that's pretty good. Personally, you have her plus 15. I would actually feel like your more beneficial lineup with her would be your Banshee one-shotter. That is actually something that I have kind of relegated her to, just because, well, she does it amazingly well with a lower gear ceiling than you need for the for a Euphine, right? But yeah, that's personally, I would put her on to just the Banshee one-shot team. Maybe run Banshee for a little while, get yourself some good Destro Lifesteal counterattack sets. And then upgrade the ones that you do have. So not too sure what you use her for, but I mean, this is what I would run her in Labyrinths, Expedition. That's not bad. 244 with the drink. Ooh, this is actually pretty good. I actually really like this, and I've considered running something along this lines with like a 30 drink on her. is the bamboozlement, right? So a lot of people are going to think that your Flitica is going to just be there for CR push enablement, right? I ran into one not too long ago that was about this speed, but also hit me like a Mack truck. It was an interesting lineup, and I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. If you're using her as your like CR pusher, your initial enabler, you will want to go a lot faster. 244 is really not fast in the grand scheme of things, especially like at any high level of RTA. Actually, mid level of RTA, 244 is actually rather slow. You want to be pushing like 270 plus if you want to use her as a CR pushing enabler. So there is that for sure. I think that that's a good option. You got the BBK here. BBK looking real good. Again, I don't like the low defense. I know that you want to take damage here, but I mean, personally, I'm also a tanky bruiser player, so I feel like not dying benefits you more than having high damage, right? And even you have I actually don't know what you use her for. You've got the Daydream Joker on her, so I'm assuming you use her for PvE, potentially like maybe an A13 hunt. Not too sure, but obviously if you were using her for PvP, maybe like a 180 with like 1100 defense, 12 or 13k hit points, and then the rest into damage would be good. That gives her the survivability, the staying power with put a Dream Blade on her. That would be pretty good. Let's see what Kayron's got. Okay, so you're a knife using, this is a lifesteal Kayron. That's an interesting build. I don't think I've ever seen anybody use a lifesteal Kayron. I personally wouldn't use a lifesteal Kayron, but I can see the possible upsides to that. Additionally, Kayrons that I've ran into recently that have given me some trouble are like counterattack Dust Devil Kayrons. Those are kind of interesting. You are using the increased damage there, so I guess I could see the survivability here, of them hitting you, not being able to kill you. You heal back, but again, your defense is abysmally low. You have a lot of hit points, but a lot of hit points aren't going to mean anything when they hit you for a million damage. So you might want to take a look into that. Also, definitely agree. I definitely believe that this should be a priority unit, especially if you are going to be wanting to pop into RTA into any of the PvP. Kayron S1 should be your priority Molagora, and honestly, like you would either want to go full damage. I think that lifesteal is not really the best option here, so you're going to want to make sure you kind of can play around with some of that. You can either go speed crit, counter attack, but you want to keep around the same speed. Critical hit damage is really low, so even with that amount of attack, you're not balanced enough to get the optimal amount of damage out of that. So you might want to spend some time with the damage calculator, kind of playing around with sets on there. Champ Zerato is real slow. You've got him on the Sierra Ren. I'm personally not a super big fan of that. It's interesting. Champ Zerato is going to be a little hindered once the fix comes through. Now, the problem with your Champ Zerato here is he's really slow. And I know a lot of people be like, well, he's got the counter attacks, right? The problem with that is in RTA, I would just ignore him until I just feel like dealing with him. With him being at 127, he's not getting much in the way of nat turns, and you're going to eventually be able to like defense him with a Falconeer Quarry, and then just follow through and just delete him before he can even counter attack. So there is that. So for your CDOM, you are using you're also using a Caldra here, and personally I think that that's not very good on a CDOM. If you're going to be using her for any sort of PvP, you're going to want to run a tags on her so that she can bring another soul burn, something along those lines. A lot of your mages, especially if you're bringing them into RTA, if they're not Champ Zerato or Dizzy, you're going to want to run tags for souls. That's pretty much the biggest thing for that. So switch that out. Otherwise, I think that you can drop some of your critical hit chance because she should be buffing herself to 50%. Instead, you should potentially put more speed on her, because if you are using an enabler like a Flitica or something like that, even though she'll be pushing herself forward, you can have Elena's cut in front of her on the Mag's Tome. So that's something you could probably put her up a little bit speedier in favor of some of your crit chance. Spectre Tenebria should be your next plus 15 after Kayron. Spectenny. And for her, I like a lot of your stats. They are pretty good. You can definitely use the tome on her for more souls. I think that that's beneficial. Additionally, you can put like a proof of valor on her, right? Because one of the big problems is she's very, very susceptible to AoE. So even though she's, working on killing things, she does need some ramp up time. And I think that having her a little bit more survivable allows you to shrug off like the SSB S2 or the Alencia S3 or something along those lines, because as long as you can live through that, you should be okay. Now Charles, 200 speed. He's got a lot of defense, but his HP leaves a lot to be desired, and you only have 70% critical hit chance. So he's not going to be doing much here. If you use him as like an attack buffer, that's fine. I would still get your health up. That is something that you should definitely look into. But overall, Charles is very, very strong. A tankier Charles will also help live through Kayrons, because he's going to be a primary Kayron target. Let's see, who else do we have here? Little Queen Charlotte, you should work on. This artifact is not great. Not great at all. You would be better off using a portrait. LQ, Little Queen Charlotte, and she would need to be plus 15. The other nice thing about LQC is that she comes built in with an adamant shield, so she also helps with overall team mitigation as well as damage. Ken, I like Ken, but honestly, I don't think that he has a good spot right now in RTA, so I wouldn't worry about him too much. Your Dizzy is super fast. You're a little low on the effectiveness. The problem here is that you don't have high defense and health. She's not chunky at all. And this means that she would be a very, very easy target. Got to get rid of this blue helmet. Not the best thing in the world, but we'll talk about gearing here in a minute. Crow is good. You need to get his speed up. Maybe roll him in with a Holy Sacrifice or an Arius or an Adamant. Your investment here is not great. You want to get the turn cooldown on the horse. That is going to be the biggest thing for you in RTA, and the reason why I hate Crow is because of that horse cooldown. At 5 turns, it actually goes pretty quick. If you have a Crow with like 220 speed, 210, he's gonna be horsing people left and right, and it's gonna be real rough. Again, with your Ruel, you're kind of on the slow side here. You got a lot of heft, right? But you're not going to be getting much in the way of turns, and that is going to be very, very detrimental to a Ruel. So you're going to want to up the speed on that. I think 190 is good. Try to keep, the heft that you have, but 4-piece speed set is going to be real big on that one. Crimson Armor doesn't have a huge place in RTA, and at 181 speed, I don't think that that's the most beneficial, because you're going to be getting hit with a lot of your debuffs before you can get that off. Really wouldn't invest too much into her. Your Lilius is actually pretty solid. Actually really solid. I like the speed, I like the HP. You could go with a little bit more defense, but I don't think that you really personally need it too much. But I think overall it's really good. You don't have to worry about the effect resist on the initial turn because you got the 2-piece immunity, so that is pretty good. Get a junkyard dog on this Tyranner guard. Where are your... We're going to put this junkyard dog on here. You got 2 of them. Junkyard dog, Tyranner guard. Get this boy into your Wyvern team. Let's see. Who do we have down here that's sleeper OP? Gear your DN. DN is one of the 2 most important soul weavers in high RTA. Absolutely. Your Rowana, you want to put some gear on her because she is a good counter pick to Seaside Bells. Your General Purgus for your Wyvern 13 team needs to be geared. It'll speed things up like crazy. Plus 6 stars, Vivian. And then Max S2 for sure. Oh, we're going by CP. That's not really what I wanted to do, but we're already here. We're already here. So let's see. Basar naked, the way that I like him. You did put some investment into him, so you might want to gear him back up and make him fast, because he's very cancerous in RTA in pretty much everything. Definitely, with the investment that you have in him, it's worth getting stuff back onto him. Falconeer Quarry is one of the more oppressive units at high RTA. Same with a Tywin. Immediately S3 or plus 6 your a Tywin. He became very, 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 very strong after his buffs. Like excessively strong. You also have Alencia, who is easily top tier. You're going to want to plus 15 her. A Tywin, you don't necessarily have to plus 15 him, but the damage that you get from the S1 and the S3 are very, very big. I would honestly, if you can in the future, plus 15 him for sure. I've seen some people have some success with Celine. I personally think that there are better options than Celine in the grand scheme of things, but that is just me. Let's take a look actually just by grade of your 5 stars and below that you have. Actually, let me look at your 6 stars and see if there was anything that I missed up here. You do have a full Fire Ravi, but Fire Ravi requires like really, really high gear ceiling, and you also really need very good like plus 15 into her. Let's see. Taking a look through here. I mean, you've already got Arby, so Arby is a huge deal. Let's look at your 5s. And see if there's anything that pops out at me real quick. Make sure you finish your Ross. Adventurer SC, because Adventurer Ross is very, very strong. Very strong, very meta unit right now. Blood Moon Haste would be good. Eventually work on BM Haste. You can bring Blood Moon Haste into teams that aren't even rocking a Reviver, right? Tenebria is good in the future if you want to work on her as well as something to kind of look at. Kitty Clarissa, you got a lot of Phantasmas here, so you can pretty much just straight pop those dudes right up to max to 6 stars and work on them like right away. Yeah, you got so many dogs here. Holy cow, I am jealous of the amount of dogs that you have on this account. Okay, let's go take a look real quick at your waiting room. You got 85 million gold as well, so you're gonna want to do some crafting sesh. Okay, so you got some Kens. You've got Cerise in here. You've got another Faithless Lidica. Why did you not imprint your Cerise into your Cerise? Or why do you not have Cerise out? I didn't see a Cerise. Work on Cerise eventually. Cerise. You have Assassin Sid and Assassin Kali, so you can pick one of the two. MRSA. Actually, I would put MRSA up here in the 6-star these units. Cerise does require a very high gear, high speed, things like that, so might not necessarily be the best to work on that right this second. Actually, Sleeper OP, Benevolent Roman. ML Roman. I am switching gear over to ML Roman myself. I think that a lot of these units that you have that you can work on will definitely benefit your account overall, especially when it comes to RTA, things like that. I think when it comes to, I know you had questions about gear, right? And so just let's look at some of the recent stuff. I'll give you a good example here. So let's take a look at this, right? So you have a high health, decent speed roll, high-ish critical hit chance, and a mid roll on the critical hit damage. I would take this to +6. If you get 2 mid to high rolls on that, keep going. Everything should just go to +6, and if it starts rolling good, awesome. If not, dump it. I would also look at things like this, right? You minimum roll on health, effectiveness, and attack on a speed set. You kind of got to look at who would you use this on. That's one of the big things with that. So we can go over, I'm going to have a video too that goes over how to look at gear, what your best options are for gear. But I think that you should just go in and you should start crafting speed stuff, +6 it, and then see where you're at. You got a lot of these just kind of kicking around too. Do you have get the 78 stuff? Make sure you're always pulling those out for stuff that you need, because those can roll pretty okay. Those can roll pretty okay. Enhancement materials, you've got a decent amount of Mologoras to work on things. Crafting materials, you can make sure you're using your Abyss Drake claws. Obviously you are. Start maybe doing a little bit on the way of conversion. I think you got some stuff right there that you can definitely use. Wait, what is this? Very Merry Gift Box. Oh, you got those sitting around? Interesting. Anyways, I do think that your account overall is in a good spot character wise. I think that you just need to level them and just work on gear. I know that you had mentioned, you've spent tons of leafs on gear and getting like one usable piece, but I think where you're at right now, you don't necessarily want to like shoot for the moon in terms of gear. So let me try to find a piece that I think would be really decent in like your maxed out, and then kind of show you like what I mean. Okay, so let's take wow, some of these did roll pretty poopy, right? So like this piece here, for example, so it's speed, health, effectiveness. This would be good on the likes of a Speed Dizzy. I don't think that this is, a bad piece of gear. Not only that, but when you reforge it, it's going to be pretty good. This piece of gear, I probably would have this is actually good on a tanky bruiser, right? Because you've got health, you've got critical hit damage, you've got effect resist. Don't overlook effect resist at all. This piece of gear was good. This was a good reforge. This was also a good reforge. A lot of these pieces are pretty okay, but again, you want to take a look at when you're leveling those up. Like take this one, for example. I would not level this up any further. You went 13 into effectiveness, low on attack. And yeah, like once you get to that, just don't go any further whatsoever. This piece, like level this up, even though it's Unity, doesn't matter, still gonna be pretty good. So that's kind of one of the things there. Like I said, I'm gonna have a video going over how to work on your gear, things like that. I think that just spend some more time in Wyvern. I'm gonna take a look at your Wyvern team real quick. Also, I didn't see if you had an Alexa or not, but I would work on an Alexa as well. So you got this team here. I guess you don't need Terran or Guard because you have Furious for defense break. Okay. Okay. I mean, I guess that's not bad. This is good. I mean, if it's working for you, cool. One of the things you can do here, though, is you could switch out Seaside Bell because you have... and put in like another DPSer, right? Because you want your Seaside Bell to be geared for PvP. So you could always level up an Alexa in place of your Seaside Bell. And then that way you can make your Seaside Bell just PvP. And I think Alexa does more damage on a Daydream Joker anyways. Build up your G-Purge, put him in place of Crow. It's going to speed your team up overall. But I think that is good. Honestly, I wouldn't farm G11 and G13 at all. The sets are very not good for the amount of stuff that you have to put in for them. This team, not great. What you'll want to do is, let's see, you've got a Shadow Rose. This is going to be your defense breaker. This is going to be your immunity. This is, so you want Shadow Rose is going to help with defense break. Vivian and Bologna are going to help with clearing out your first wave. Then you're going to have 2 potential defense breaks between the 2 of those, and your Baiken should finish everything up. That is how that's going to work. And for this, you're good. The only problem is you don't have anything to dispel. So I would put maybe a mage in here, like a Spectenny with a violin or something along those lines. But I think overall your account's good. Farm, craft, make sure you're leveling things up very, very low, slowly. I would actually start using conversion because you don't need to sell stuff for gold. So that's what I think you should do. Hopefully this has helped out. If you have any questions, obviously you can just message me directly, but I will have that video out for going over how best to work on gear here real soon. But as always, anybody who hasn't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button, smash the bell notification, drop me a like and a comment. I do these every so often. Best bet is to just hit me up on Discord and see if I've got some free time, or on Patreon. Yeah, I appreciate anybody who signs up for that as well. But anyways, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Take it easy, homies. Peace. Cracky.